You stayed calm. You followed the parenting advice. You chose a logical consequence instead of yelling. And somehow, the situation got worse. Your child melted down harder. The behavior didn't improve. And afterward, you were left feeling confused, discouraged, and quietly wondering if you're doing something wrong. If logical consequences don't seem to work in your home, especially with a neurodivergent child, you're not failing. There's a reason this approach often backfires, and it has far less to do with parenting skill than it does with how a child's brain works under stress. Ready? Because this is kind parent collective, less perfect parent, more real one. Logical consequences are often presented as the respectful alternative to punishment. The promise is simple. When consequences are directly connected to behavior, children will naturally understand cause and effect and learn responsibility. On paper, this sounds fair, calm, and reasonable, but many parents notice something unsettling. Instead of learning, their child escalates. Instead of responsibility, there's resistance. Instead of understanding, there's emotional fallout, especially for neurodivergent children. Logical doesn't mean regulating. Here's the missing piece most advice skips over. Something can be logical to an adult and still be overwhelming to a child's nervous system. Logic lives in the thinking brain. Behavior during stress lives in the survival brain. When a child is dysregulated, emotionally flooded, sensory overloaded, or cognitively exhausted, logic simply doesn't land. In those moments, consequences don't feel instructional. They feel threatening, and the nervous system responds accordingly. Why the brain can't learn under stress. When stress levels rise, the brain prioritizes safety over learning. This means cause and effect thinking weakens, language processing slows, emotional reactivity increases, memory formation drops. So even if a consequence makes sense, the child may not absorb the lesson at all. Instead of learning why something happened, the child may only feel loss, shame, fear, and disconnection. The intended lesson gets lost in the emotional noise. Neurodivergent nervous systems add another layer. Neurodivergent children often experience heightened sensory input, slower processing speed, greater emotional intensity, difficulty with transitions, less consistent access to regulation. This means their ability to learn from consequences is state dependent, not fixed. A consequence that feels manageable one day may feel unbearable the next, not because the child is being manipulative, but because their capacity has changed. What looks like refusal is often overload. When logical feels like disconnection, many children experience consequences, even calm, logical ones, as a form of emotional withdrawal, especially when the child is already distressed. The consequence involves removal of something meaningful. Connection isn't restored afterward. To a child in survival mode, removal can feel like rejection. Instead of learning responsibility, they learn,
when I struggle, I lose support.
That lesson erodes trust. The power struggle you didn't intend. Logical consequences often assume the child is able to cooperate, but when a child feels overwhelmed, consequences can trigger a power struggle instead. The child's internal question becomes,
how do I regain control?
This can lead to escalation, defiance, shutting down, refusal to re-engage. The focus shifts away from learning and towards self-protection. Behavior often reflects skill gaps, not choices. Many behaviors that trigger consequences aren't willful misbehavior, they're signs of missing skills. For example, throwing objects may reflect poor impulse control. Avoiding tasks may reflect cognitive overload. Meltdowns may reflect limited regulation tools. Consequences don't teach missing skills. They assume the skill already exists and just needs motivation, which is often not true. Why it worked before doesn't mean it will again. Parents often say,
but this consequence worked last time.
That doesn't mean it's universally effective. A child's capacity changes based on sleep, hunger, stress, sensory load, emotional demands. Consistency without flexibility can unintentionally ignore these variables. Children aren't inconsistent, their nervous systems are responsive. Accountability versus punishment. Accountability is about learning and repair. Punishment, even logical punishment, is about loss. True accountability asks,
what happened? What made this hard? What support is needed next time? How can we repair the situation together?
This approach builds responsibility without shame. What actually supports behavior change? Lasting behavior change happens when children feel safe, understood, supported, capable. This often means co-regulating before correcting, reducing demands temporarily, teaching skills later when calm returns, offering choices instead of ultimatums. Learning sticks best after regulation, not during distress. Rethinking consequences, not eliminating them. This doesn't mean consequences are never appropriate, but helpful consequences are calm and predictable, paired with emotional support, flexible based on capacity, introduced when the child is regulated. Sometimes the most effective consequence is simply pausing, repairing, and trying again later. Why repair is more powerful than removal. Repair teaches far more than loss ever could. Repair might involve cleaning up together, practicing a skill later, talking through what happened once calm, modeling problem solving. Repair preserves dignity, and dignity supports growth. Why letting go of consequences feels scary. Many parents were taught if there's no consequence, kids won't learn. So choosing support over punishment can feel risky. But responding to capacity isn't permissive, it's precise. You're not removing expectations. You're adjusting how the learning happens. What your child is communicating beneath the behavior. Under challenging behavior, children are often asking,
Am I safe? Do you understand me? Can you help me?
when consequences come before connection, those questions go unanswered. When connection comes first, learning becomes possible. Logical consequences often backfire not because parents are doing them wrong, but because logic can't reach a dysregulated brain. Children don't need harsher lessons. They need support that matches their nervous system. When we shift from control to collaboration, behavior changes naturally over time. If logical consequences have never felt quite right in your home, trust that feeling. You're not failing to teach responsibility. You're learning how your child actually experiences the world. And that awareness is one of the most powerful parenting tools there is. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if today was rough, you still did enough. Catch you on the next one.